Oh, hey. How y'all doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Been busy working on stuff and haven't got a lot put up for you guys to watch, but rest assured, I have been working and sweating and yeah, all the above. So, as you may be able to see if you watch the channel, you know what this motor's for. And since we're working on it again, that'll tell you that we're working on old Pennywise again in this video also. So right now I'm just taking a tap, going through, chasing all these holes, put the exhaust manifolds on. I don't know if it's on camera or not, but I got the other side tapped out already. And I got the bolts cleaned. And I got the manifold installed, which you'll see a little later. And I'm just running a tap through all these holes. We'll get this manifold mounted on there. And I thought at that point I'd be ready to mount the clutch and the transmission and all that stuff on it, and go ahead and start setting it down in the truck. But then I remembered or realized that I hadn't cleaned up and painted any of the clamshells or that kind of stuff, and you kind of need the motor mounts to mount the motor, kinda. So that's what I'm gonna work on. I'm not gonna film cleaning and prepping parts and painting them, because it's not any more fun for you guys to watch me do it than it is for me to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish tapping up these holes, and I'll bring the blow nozzle over here and we'll blow them all out. I'll get that exhaust manifold put on, and then I'm probably gonna spend the better part of today cleaning stuff up and painting it. And then, considering we've got extreme levels of humidity, takes a while to dry. So it'll probably be tomorrow before I can bolt anything on here and put anything in the truck. So that's about it. Just wanted to start the intro on this video, kind of let you guys know where we were at, what we were doing. I'm gonna get this motor to a point where it's ready to bolt clutches and transmissions, and I don't know if I've even mentioned to you guys what route we're going with transmission or anything yet, but something we've never done before here on the channel. So it'll be new, and yeah, so you guys hang tight. I'm gonna do about a day and a half's worth of work, and then I'll bring you back when we're ready to do the fun stuff. All right, just wanted to catch up with you guys for a minute. Haven't forgotten about you. Just trying to get the little boring stuff done that you really don't want to watch. Some of you might, most of you don't. So, got all those holes tapped out. Got our manifolds installed permanently. Gaskets, bolts torqued to proper spec, and got that done. Got all these, what would it be, 20, 45, 6, 30-year-old, no, 50, old dirty parts. Anyways, got them all cleaned up, got them all painted. We got both pieces for our alternator bracket. Got our water pump pulley, crank pulley, motor mounts, and I went ahead and cleaned up and tightened up and painted the hood hinges, because once I get the motor set in there, I don't want to be leaving it sitting with the hood open anymore. So as soon as I get the motor and trans set down in there, the hood will go back on. I can still work on wiring harnesses and everything else, but at least the hood will be there to cover the motor. So right now, I'm currently sweating to death. No, I'm just kidding. I am, but that's not what I meant. Working on our carburetor. We got a Holley 850. that's going to be going on this motor. It may be a little big for a stock big block, but it should be all right. That's what my buddy that owns the truck got for me. I'm putting a kit in it. I took it all apart yesterday afternoon, soaked it in my special sauce overnight, everything, and then I sprayed it all out with cleaner, blew it all out with air, and now I'm strategically reassembling it exactly the same way it came apart. So we got that there. It's going back together. Everything looks all pretty and clean. So when I get the motor set in the truck, I can go ahead and mount the carburetor, and that way the intake's not open, which I could put tape or something over it, but it's all got to be done anyways, so why not just do it? So I'm going to finish getting this carburetor rebuilt, and then I'll bring you guys back, because after that we're going to install the pilot bearing, clutch, pressure plate, flywheel, not in that order, and then we got an NV4500 5-speed manual transmission. It's going to bolt to the back of it. Once we get that bolted on, going in the truck. See y'all in a minute. All right, as you may be able to see, right in this area right here, carburetor's all done. I got the lift plate mounted on the motor, so it'll be ready to pick up. And last thing I want to do before I pick it up is put these motor mounts that I cleaned up and painted on it. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you wait and try to do these while the motor's swinging, it sucks. So I'm going to go ahead, just takes a second, 3 bolts each side, grab the impact, hammer them down, and that'll be done. And then I'm not going to make you guys watch me do it because it's a piece of cake, but I'm going to go ahead and change the spark plugs now before I set the motor in, because they're easier to do once again here on the stand than with it hanging and or with the motor in the truck leaning over the fenders. So then I'll hang this thing from the cherry picker. We'll get it outside where we got a little bit more light and a little bit more room. And we still got to put pilot bushing in it. This motor came from a or had an automatic transmission behind it before, and it no longer does. So we're gonna get we got a brand new pilot bushing. We'll put that in there. I still got to put a dipstick tube in it. We got to put the flywheel on it, clutch pressure plate, and then we'll bolt that transmission up to it. Hopefully I can find enough. Hopefully I can find enough bolts. I know I've got the flywheel bolts, and I know I've got the bolts for the clutch. Hopefully I've got bell housing bolts that I can use, because otherwise I'm going to have to make an hour-long trip to go get some. Alright, and then I got to find some plugs and some fittings. We got to find a fitting to put in here for our oil pressure port over here by the above the oil filter. That's where the oil pressure port hooks up on these big blocks. I also need to find, there's a plug that goes right here for the oil or the fuel pump priming rod. You can go in there and hold it up and stuff while you do the fuel pump, but I just realized there's no fuel pump priming rod in there, so we're gonna have to work out one of those also, which I'm sure I got one. If not, I'm sure I got a junk motor I can take one out of. Not that big a deal. So we'll get that plug. I got to figure out fittings for our oil pressure gauge over there. I'll let you know everything I do, and I'll show you the important stuff but we'll keep going. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. When I look in the back of the camera, you can't, but I've got a light here. Not much else I can do. So here we have pilot bearing. Not to be confused with a pilot bushing, which you can confuse them if you want because they're both the same thing. So pilot bushing is just a piece of brass this size that presses in there, and then the snout of the manual transmission rides in the bushing. This is actually a bearing. There's actually a bearing in there, and some say the bushings wear out faster. Some say the bearings aren't worth a dang, and some people like me just put in whichever one we got and don't really care. But this has probably never had a bushing in it. Probably always had an automatic transmission behind it, and it feels pretty dirty in there. So before I just try to go and drive a bushing in there, just get it smooth, clean it up a little bit. While I'm cleaning this, I'll talk a little bit about it. So when you go to put this bearing in, or bushing, whichever, there's this lip right here. Now that hole is way deeper than the bearing sitting flush with this surface right here. But when you drive that bushing, drive this bearing in, or drive a bushing in, or drive in whatever you're putting in there, you want the flat surface of it to be flush with this, because that's where it's supposed to sit. Not only that, but if for any reason you ever have to take this out, you need the space behind it to get it out. So we're gonna set it in there like so, and I'm just gently gonna give it a couple taps to make sure it's square. And then they make a tool for installing these. I don't have it, but I do have this, which, as you can probably tell, it's homemade. Carriage bolt, the nut, a couple thick washers. Put that in there like so. The main thing you're wanting to do is you don't want to take the hammer and beat on that, because you got to hit it pretty decent to get it to go in there, because it kind of presses in. If it didn't, it'd just fall out. But you don't want to take the hammer and beat on it, because if you do that, you can knurl these edges. Then when you go to get your snout of your transmission in there, it doesn't want to fit. So by having some kind of driver or something bigger that spreads out there, it pushes on the outside more, and it drives it right in. And then when I finally get it flush, the washers are bigger than the bushing, so it'll stop. We're getting close. It's almost there. My washers are starting to pancake a little bit, so what I'm going to do, turn them around, then I'm flattening them back out this way. And there it is. Bushing's installed. Flush in there. Now, doesn't matter in this application because we're not using it, but for people that may be new to this, or they're trying to figure it out, or whatever your case may be, this surface here, this outer diameter here, that's where the snout of your torque converter snaps into if you have an automatic. So you can have this pilot bushing in here and still running automatic, because the crank snout just goes inside this spot here and sits up against that. So it's not that pilot bushing, pilot bearing, whatever being in there won't hurt if you put a torque converter on it. So just if you didn't know, that's when you're lining up your engine, the transmission with your torque converter and everything, your transmission's got to pop in that snout right there. So I'm gonna get our flywheel and our clutch and our pressure plate and our alignment tool and whatever else we need to get all that stuff mounted on here, and then I'll let you figure out what we're gonna do with it. I got our flywheel. This truck had a new clutch, flywheel, pressure plate, everything put in it. Probably way less than 10,000 miles ago. So it's not getting replaced with all new stuff because it doesn't need it. But I did go ahead and take some sandpaper on a DA and go around and resurface this flywheel. It didn't have no heat cracks or nothing like that in it. It just had like some heat spots and stuff. So it's not probably 100% perfect, but it never chattered or anything to begin with. It's always been real smooth ever since I put it in. So I just, like I said, I just took the DA and kind of smoothed it out a little bit just to make it a little bit better. So anyways, I don't like the way that screw's going in. So yeah, I'm gonna go get a socket and we'll tighten these down. I gotta get my alignment tool for my clutch. We'll put that on. Luckily I was smart enough that I left the bolts with the flywheel, and then I put the bolts for the clutch in the flywheel, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time looking for bolts. So that worked out pretty good. But anyways, I'll get this on. I'll start getting ready for the clutch and we'll get that put on. One step I left out. Didn't want anybody to think I forgot it. Thread lock. I'll admit I did kind of forget for a second, but before I went to tighten it, I remembered. And I figured if I didn't show you guys that I actually put it on, then somebody would remind me in the comments that I forgot it. So here it is. I didn't forget. Thread lock, it's going on. Every single bolt. Yeah. Oh. First I can't get it to come out, then way too much comes out. That one will be good and tight. You guys remember which one I started with, so I don't have to pull out the same one I already did twice. Don't worry, I remember. That was the last one. Alright, so get that torque down. Okay. Now, when you go to put your clutch on, it's going to have it's going to say flywheel side on it. That's going to go towards the flywheel. Did you figure that out on your own? I hope so. So that's gonna go, and I almost put it on backwards anyways, idiot. So that's gonna go in there, like so. I had to get my bolts. Then we'll grab our pressure plate. And it's extremely light. You don't have to like strain yourself holding it up or anything. And I'm a bad liar. So hopefully that started. And you want to pay attention that you got this in there right as you're tightening it down, because if you don't, spoken from multiple experiences, you will be pulling everything back apart and doing it again, because it will not, transmission will not go in it. So right now, you want this to be nice and smooth, move in and out, and it's really not, but and then you go around and evenly run this in. You don't want to just go to one. You don't want to just go to one and hammer it down. You want to go around and evenly tighten it. Till you get it all pretty far sucked down, and then see, and then that real easy. That's what you want. And there is torque specs for all this stuff, flywheel, pressure plate, all that, and you guys should be using them. But that's going in. What you're doing is you're making sure, so this has, that goes into that pinion bearing that you saw me put on, and then this goes through the splines in the clutch. And this is what the front of the transmission input shaft looks like. So you want to make sure that when you go to put that transmission in, that sucker's just whoop, all the way home, you know. So, and that is, so we'll be good. I'm gonna get the transmission over here, get it ready, start getting it bolted up. All right, I got the transmission out here. I put a new throwout bearing in it. I blew all the dust and dirt and old clutch material and everything out of it that I could. And now we're ready to mate it. So it's either gonna go pretty easy and, you know, be fun, or it's gonna suck really bad and I'll hate my life for the next 45 minutes. See what happens. Alright, looks like my jack's about to blow up. That's nice since it's brand new. And not only that, but right when I'm about to pick up a big block with a transmission attached to it. Well, not loose. Dang it. Might not be putting this motor in today. now that it's doing that, I don't even know if I trust it. Last thing I need is for this thing to drop a motor on the truck. Yeah, it's dripping all the fluid out this time. Might just be the fluids expanding because it's hot. There's hope, but I doubt it. We're partway in. At an angle. There it goes. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Man, that was easy. Remember when I was talking about how you take your time making sure that pin slides in there, that alignment tool slides in there and stuff? That's why. Because you get your angle and everything right. You guys can't see it right now, but I literally just shook the jack a little bit and it just walked itself right up. So I know it's in the bushing, bearing, whatever, and all that. So all I got to do is put the bell housing bolts in. I'm gonna go get those. I'll put them in. Then we're gonna lift this thing up and see if it goes down in there. All right, it made it up there. I had to let the air out of the tires and do some jimmying around, but I got it. Oh. So hopefully this thing will go down slow. Hopefully. So I can control it. This is a lot easier to do with two people. So you can have somebody watching while somebody's running the jack, but I don't have a second person, so we're gonna do with what we can. This might have to come back out. Probably gonna have to come back out. I'm gonna have to set the motor in and then bring the trans up from underneath and mount it, because I don't think it's gonna go like this. So I guess we'll pull it back out. Why not? Sounds like fun, don't it? All right, it's been like 4 or 5 days since I updated you guys on this project, and honestly I haven't really done much to it in the last 4 or 5 days. It's just other stuff going on. Anyways, the last time I showed you, we were trying to put the motor and trans in, and I couldn't get it to go, and I thought I was gonna have to take the transmission back off of it and set the motor in and then put the trans on, which I didn't really want to do. I hate doing that on manuals. I hate laying down there trying to stab the dang things. So after I turned the camera off, I messed with it a little bit longer, and I got that sucker so it was sitting almost 90 degrees. And right before the transmission hit the ground, I was able to tweak it, and we got it in. So motor's in, motor mount bolts are in, it's good. You may be wondering, I've got a angle finder sitting on the valve cover. I went out to the Bo James, which also has a big block, and set the angle finder on that valve cover to see where it was at, because I'm using a different transmission cross member, because it's a different transmission, and you get the picture. So the motor in the Bo James, which is all factory stock, was about 7 degrees, and right now this is sitting at about 10. So I don't have the cross member bolted in yet, and I'm gonna make some shims to put in between the tranny mount and the cross member to shim it up where we need it. The tranny mount's got like 1.5 inch stud on it, and to get 3 degrees we're talking maybe 1/4 inch, if that. So anyways, I'm going to kind of semi-start assembling this. I got the radiator over there. I flushed it out very, very thoroughly with a garden hose, and I flushed out all the inside and the fins, the core, everything. Blew it all out with air real good, cleaned it all real good. We're gonna put a coat of paint on that so it looks good. I've got pulleys, alternator brackets, all that stuff that's already painted. I got AC brackets and battery trays and all that stuff that I still need to clean up and paint. So I'm gonna do a bunch of that off camera, and then we'll do, sorry, somebody's driving by slow, it was weird. Hood hinges, all that. I'm gonna get a bunch of stuff cleaned up and painted off camera, and then we're gonna go ahead and we'll get the radiator put in, we're gonna get pulleys put on, we're gonna get carburetors put on, we're gonna stab distributors. We're gonna do all that kind of stuff, and that'll get me kind of the stopping point I want to get to for this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning some stuff up, and we'll get after it. All right, I've been busting my butt, sweating. I got the radiator all cleaned up, flushed out, washed out, everything prepped, sanded, scuffed, cleaned, painted. Fan, radiator mount, fan clutch. We got the pulleys on the motor. We got the carburetor. That may not be the carburetor that we use, but that's the one that I rebuilt for it. Me, the owner of the truck, and I are both a little worried that 850 is going to be a little bit too much for a stock 454. We have another option. We haven't decided 100% which one we're going to use, but I rebuilt that one for this, so I just set it on there just for now. I wanted to get the distributor stab before we ended this, but I'm running out of time and I didn't get it, so we plugged that hole back off. It was already plugged until earlier. I took the plug out of it because I was going to put it in. Didn't get to it. I still got to make the shims to shim the motor up a little bit, but that's all going to be for another day. I haven't put a video out in quite some time, and tonight's church night for me and my little girl, and we don't miss that. So anyways, that's personal business I don't talk about a lot, but anyways, we made quite a bit of progress this go around. Engine, transmission are in, motor mounts are in, transmission cross members in. We just have to shim it a little bit. Exhaust, I don't know if I told you or not, but I got the exhaust hooked up. You probably can't see it down there, but it's hooked up. Cleaned up stuff underneath, and then so on and so forth. We just kept cleaning parts. I was going to get the fan and the radiator and all that put in, but the fan is not dry yet, so I can't put the hub assembly back together and the radiator and everything. I just sprayed it. It's super humid. Didn't dry that fast. No reason to rush it. So like I said, it's lean back just a little bit. I just got to put some shims in there to bring that up. It'll be perfect. Maybe at most 1/4 of an inch. If I didn't do stuff right, I could just grab, you know, like 3 washers and stick them under the tranny mount, and that would do it. But I don't believe that's the right way to do things. And if you just have like a washer and you got that big transmission mount, it can flex over that washer and prematurely tear up the tranny mount, in my opinion. Now, have I done it before? Not that I can remember. Do I know other people have done it before? Yes. Did it work? Most likely. And that's fine, but I don't want to do anything halfway. We're going to do it right. So I'm going to make, like I said, I only need 1/4 of an inch. So if I got a piece of 1/4 inch plate laying around here somewhere, I'm going to make a shim that's the same width and length as the transmission mount. We're going to set it on, drill a hole through the center of it, and we'll put it on the transmission mount before we put it in the cross member. And then that'll have full coverage of the whole mount like it should if it's sitting on the engine cross member. So that being said, it's nice seeing the engine compartment on this truck all cleaned up with a nice clean motor in it. It's been a long time coming. This old workhorse deserves a little bit of love. I've run her into the ground working for me, and she's always done the best that she could, and I thank her for that. But she's not mine anymore, and she's getting fixed up so she can go be somebody else's little workhorse, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. So next video on Pennywise, not the next video on Pennywise, we have to take the drive shaft out and shorten it so that it's the right length for the new transmission. I'm pretty sure I told you guys, but if I didn't, that's an NV4500 Chevrolet 5-speed that we put in there. Where the shifter is located on the transmission is further back than the stock one, so we're gonna have to cut our doghouse and move the hole back to where it's in the right spot for the shifter. So next video, gonna get the drive shaft shortened and installed permanently. We're gonna get the doghouse cut down so it can fit in there right. We'll get it bolted in. We'll get the shifter put on in all that. The motor will be shimmed up where it's supposed to be. We'll get the radiator and all that stuff in. And next video, 110%, next video on Pennywise, we'll start this truck. So that's kind of what's gonna happen thing for the owner and I, because he bought this motor as a core motor off of Marketplace or something and doesn't know nothing about it. If you watch the old videos on it, I took the pan and everything off, checked the main cap, couple rods. It seemed okay. Cylinder seemed okay, all that. So I think it's gonna be okay. We'll find out. So it's exciting to start it, but it's also a little, what's gonna happen? So that's what's coming up next on Pennywise. Very next video, which will hopefully be out next week, is gonna be on this thing. It is a 63 four-door Impala, and I get comments all the time about, hey, when you gonna work on that 63 Impala you got sitting over there? Hey, what happened to the 64 SS convertible? How come that's gone and you never worked on it anymore? And we want to see more Impala stuff. So guess what? Here it is. So if you're interested in watching the Impala stuff, if you want to see what turns out at Pennywise, we got a long way to go. And it's not just put a motor and tranny in it and send it down the road. We're doing a lot more stuff than that to it. You don't want to miss it. Hit the subscribe button. If you don't want to miss Impala content, so we're going to be doing that one, working on that one next week. That red 63 over there got dug out of a field the way it is, and it's going to take a lot just to make it drivable again. And that's coming one day too. So if you're not subscribed, please do. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment, whatever you want to do, whatever you got to do. I appreciate it. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.